I still think Doombringer will be banned, like ban worthy every single CM game versus Visage being not ban worthy every single game. So Juggernaut got some nice buff on his healing ward. Juggernaut's not a, I won't say he's an uncommon pick, but he's really a rare pick, a novelty pick. So I mean, nothing much to talk about. His healing ward got rescaled better, so early level benefits the team. And I mean, the maximum healing ward actually heals 125% of your maximum HP, so that's a lot of healing. So if you could dump your ward in the middle of a chaotic team fight, you could provide your team actually pretty nice healing if they don't pick it up quickly. King Leoric is the next melee hero, which I have to say I love his new stun. Of course, I mean the old Stormbow. Since Sven got his Stormbow change, everyone's like saying, "Oh, Leoric should get his Stormbow change," and I mean, I don't know whether I like this change or not. I don't know, like Hellfire Blast, it used to be a single stun and it just does a set amount of damage. Now the new Hellfire Blast does a stun, a slow on a 2-second slow for 15%, and it's a DOT. So that's a lot of stuff. Of course, it's a stun first and then slow and with DOT. Like, so I guess think a Fire Blast plus an Ignite from an Open Magic combined together. So that's exactly what it is. I think it's great. I mean, not many spells in Dota stuns first and then slow. Of course, the damage is not too good, and the fact that it doesn't do any instant damage, that means during later on the game when heroes get more and more passive regeneration, they could survive from the Hellfire Blast a little bit longer. Of course, it's not anything too game changing, whether that is a DOT or not, but it really hurts certain heroes that it hurts a Templar Assassin, for example, who based on certain spells upon some spells are definitely weak versus DOT, and some heroes are definitely strong against DOT, such as heroes with innate height magic resistance. So it really depends here. And I mean, I really like the new Hellfire Blast, and the Aura got some really nice buff here. Of course, the Vampiric Aura got lifesteal increased, but his reincarnation mana cost actually increased as well. So that's a slight nerf to Leroy, who doesn't really have a lot of mana pool to work with. But I think it's the new Hellfire Blast makes him a very interesting pick. In Leoric, in my opinion, it's not a bad carry. I mean, he has 2 lives, and he could tank pretty well. He could do a lot of damage through his crit, so he's not too bad of a carry hero. I'm not sure if he's CM worthy, but maybe in a Captain's Draft mode he might be picked up sometime. So, and Meepo got some actually big buffs. His movement increased passively 5/5, nothing too big, but poof mana cost, wow, rescale, and really Meepo in early level likes to poof a lot for 1 or 2 creep kill and a little bit of passive harass. That's a big deal, like poof. And keep in mind that Meepo is very, very weak before level 6, and because you decrease the poof mana cost in early level, he could climb in EXP a lot faster by nuking creeps, by nuking neutrals, and get to his level 6 quick. So I think Meepo actually receive a bigger buff than a lot of people see him is. But keep in mind, this version is not friendly to Meepo. It's very stun heavy, it's very nuke heavy, very AoE heavy, and all of that is not good for Meepo. So shamefully, we won't see Meepo in any competitive game anytime soon. But nice buff. So, and of course, we do have Nyx getting a kind of buff. His base damage got increased by 5, and casting Open Wound and the fact that you don't lose attack focus, I don't think that's a buff at all. That's just a little bit noob friendly. Most pro gamers won't make the mistake of casting Open Wounds and then starting to attack the next target, but whatever. Anyways, and then Night Stalker got some nice little buffs, but it doesn't matter all too much. Of course, the Night Stalker and the Luna, since both these heroes got some buff, and the fact that they synergize pretty well, having a night theme, because the Luna has Eclipse turning on, switching to nighttime. Of course, Night Stalker works better at night, though. I mean, we might see a novelty, theme pick, but again, in professional gaming strat, these novelty teams generally don't make it, and they generally don't do too well. Ogre Magi got some little nice buff, increased int gains, fire damage got better rescale, and multicast actually does better for Fire Blast. I still don't see Ogre Magi as a melee babysitter being picked. A lot of range hero does what Ogre Magi does, but probably do a lot better because they're range, and they're not being picked. So I don't think Ogre Magi is being picked at all. I think he sorely needs an increase in Bloodlust, because I think Bloodlust is where Ogre Magi's best spell is at. Of course, the stuns and the slows are great, but a percent increase on a carry hero is crazy. And because so what I'm trying to say is that I don't think he will be in CM. So moving on next. Omni Knight, increased movement speed by 5. I guess. I don't think this is the reason why he'll be played more, but I will talk about the reason why he'll play more next, which is gonna be crazy. So, Pudge, they make it Pudge more late game oriented. The flesh shape is a little just mechanic change, nothing too big about that, but the meat hook changing to physical to pure damage. It used to be a physical damage nuke, where basically is if the higher armor they have, the less damage your meat hook does. Now it's pure damage, so it ignores armor and ignores magic resistance. Every time you hit with a level 4 meat hook, it will does exact 360 damage. So basically, Pudge does more damage during a mid-late game scenario, and he'll do less damage during early game scenario, and that's a big trade-off. Generally Pudge is your early game assassin, and during your mid game and late game, Pudge starts to decrease in his usage. And now that Ice Frog is trying to make him better mid, suckier early, and a little bit better at late. I'm not too sure whether a lot of people like that, but again, when's the last time you saw Pudge in a CMO, right? So moving on, he's not gonna get picked. And Spectre actually got some little nice buff: Desolate damage increase, Dispersion refraction increase. So small, nice little buffs. But the fact that again, range carries are preferable to melee carries, and Spectre is not. You generally only pick Spectre in a global Deem team. She's definitely a great carry in her own right, but generally most teams prefer range heroes such as Straw Rangers, such as Dusa and whatnot. So I don't see her being picked quite often. And finally, Spirit Breaker here. Spirit Breaker got a lot of buffs, but okay, whatever. When's the last time we saw Spirit Breaker being picked? But however, I have to say though, like Agamemnon Scepter on Spirit Breaker is OP. I tried it out in pubs. It's a freaking like 850 cast range on a stun. It's like a Blink Strike at 850 range. If you think about it like that, it's crazy. So, anyways, Spirit Breaker won't be picked in CM. Moving on, Torn Chieftain got a little bit buff, nothing too big. Terrorblade might be picked more, not because of the buff itself, but because of what I'm going to talk about next, which I'll go over later. And finally, everyone's favorite stone giant, Tiny. Avalanche cooldown 3 second buff, excuse me. Toss range increase to 1300 with Aga Scepter, which is freaking hilarious in pubs. If you get Aga Scepter and toss like half crate across the map, it's crazy stuff. And of course, you guys should know by now, the Aga Scepter on Tiny gives in a big freaking tree, splash like crazy with 50 damage, and for 3 attacks basically, you splash like a mofo. And again, now if you just sit down and think about it, in a professional game, Tiny is gonna get probably treads first or some sort of boots. Energy booster might be a choice here. He's gonna get his Blink Dagger next. He might go Eel or go something. And just think about it, like Tiny in a professional game won't ramp up to Aga they probably won't get Aga at all. Like, even though it does all these cool things, you get a tree and you can slap people with it, like, it's cool. But I don't think teams are gonna pick Tiny because he could slap people with a tree. People would pick Tiny because his Blink Dagger initiation on a gank is crazy. And he is still pretty much the same hero. Of course, the Avalanche got a little bit buffed, but more or less he's the same hero. But again, maybe this will change the mindset of Dota pickers, because he's gonna be more popular. You want to slap people with a tree. You want to have the possibility of slapping people with a tree, so they might pick him just for that. I don't know. Tiny's definitely a great ganker, would fit into a lot of ganking role, but keep in mind that there's a lot of range ganker as well. So again, range is more preferable to melee. I feel like a broken record repeating myself, but there you go. And I think that's pretty much it for the melee heroes as well. So most of the melee heroes didn't get any kind of buff, or the buffs that they got was kind of a little bit silly. The only thing think just seeing more viable in competitive play was maybe SK, maybe Tiny, but that's only because they were in CMO before. And other than that, I don't see any of the other melee heroes gonna be picked. I don't think they're gonna be picked at all. Doombringer, he was still gonna be picked a lot. Of course, Broodmother is still gonna be picked a lot. Like those nerfs on them is not gonna matter all too much. And finally, I'm gonna talk about the items. And this has been a very long Dota analysis, so I hope you guys are still with me here. And I think the item 6.68 to me is all about item in the competitive change. There's a lot of huge item change. And it's like the ghost system that helped out the support player. Animal Chicken, the courier, got a price buff. It's only costs 170 now. Woohoo! For support players like you and me, who actually could buy chicken and have 30 gold to spare. So when we die, like we lose more gold. Anyways, like some items got nifty little buffs, like Yule Scepter, you know, Bariza Bloodstone, blah blah blah. But those items aren't gonna be changed all too much. The only thing, like the old item that people always get and will have a big effect in the game is Mecha. I think AoE restoration range increased from 450 to 750. That's a huge change. That means that in a big team fight, in a very like open team fight where teammates are you know really spread far apart, you could basically heal more units with your Mecha. And that might sound like kind of a dull argument, but I mean, every Dota player who has ever got a mecha has this, you know, experience of running to your carry when he's getting focused, trying to throw your mecha on him, but you know, you either get there too late because the mecha range is too short, or when you get there, they're dead because the mecha range is too short. So now the AoE increase of mecha, like, it solves a lot of problem. It definitely makes it more team oriented, and because of that, I think both teams are going to try to get a mecha hero every single game because it's just that good. Mecha is just great, in my opinion, as a support item. So, but I think the bigger change of this version is the two new items, which is going to be Arcane Boots and the Orb of Venom. So Arcane Boot is a total cost of 150, 1,500, 500 for the boots of speed, 1,000 for the energy booster, and I mean it basically replaces the Arcane Ring as the item, as the old item, but no one ever made Arcane Ring anyway. So because this is a boots now, I think a lot of people is gonna make this, for the reason that a lot of pro teams, they definitely need a lot of mana for ganking and whatnot. Of course, the replenishment mana only replenish 135 in the 600 AoE, so that's not a lot. If you think about it, 135 is really not that much. It just basically gives you one more spell, really one more spell. Of course, it really helps out in a ganking team, but like there's a 45-second cooldown. That's a long ass cooldown. Like you're not gonna use it you can only use it once in a team fight or once in a gank. That's it. Like you're not gonna use it again. So I mean, to me, power treads is a very good boots. Like a lot of people get power treads. No one probably even get phase boots or BOT anymore. I'm not too sure how Arcane Boots compare to power treads. Of course, Arcane Boots is more team oriented. It costs just as much as the power treads, 50 gold more, but that's kind of like whatever. It's only replenished 135 mana in a 600 AoE. Now it really depends whether tournaments restrict this item. I mean, if you go for some crazy all mid level 5, like level 5 all mid push strat, and every single teammate on your team gets an Arcane Boot, and you could, you know, keep spamming that Arcane Boot. If you could stack that, that's great. If you could, you know, if there's no tournament restriction of Arcane Boot, then we might see some crazy combo with Arcane Boots. But in a normal CM game, but I think most support heroes, and support heroes going to be getting this, most support heroes are probably going to go for the strength treads or the intel treads. We might, and this is, I stress very heavily on the might, we might see solo mid line get this, because plus 250 passive mana on the Arcane Boots is also not bad. And you know, things like maybe a Storm Spirit, I don't think Storm Spirit will even get it. Like, of course the extra mana is nice, but I mean, there's no passive regeneration like the extra intelligence and all that. So